China said turn back. The carrier didn't. Then a single maneuver flipped the board. You're about to see how a US carrier group used silence, radar locks, and a synchronized formation shift, the steel wall, to force de-escalation without firing a shot. Why did a slow turn beat a fast provocation? And what hidden asset nearby changed the risk calculus without ever showing its face? Stay for the exact protocol that turns posture into power, and why timing, not missiles, decided who owned that water. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A demand to turn back. A silent deck. Then the sea state changes without a shot. What made the wrong target choice so costly?
Meanwhile, in a new flashpoint in the already strained US-China relations, two US carrier groups conducted joint exercise in the South China Sea. China has repeatedly asserted that it has irrefutable sovereignty. It has accused the United States of deliberately stoking tensions in the region.
China pushes in with the same script it's used before: warnings, wake-cut passes, and a bet that the carrier will yield ground in contested water. The misread comes early. They tag the group as off-cycle, assume reduced flight ops, and project a clean lane to a PR win. But the water tells a different story. No launch cycle, no raised voice, no rush to posture. The carrier holds bearing. The escorts breathe with it. Beijing's units pressed the hull line, tight shadowing, bow-on headings, clipped radio calls that stack pressure. The reply they expect is a mirror, a raised tone, countermaneuvers, a rush to match speed. Instead, they get quiet air and measured knots. Silence here is not absence.
The exercise comes just days after China condemned the sailing of the destroyer, the USS John S. McCain, near the Chinese-controlled islands. Now, China has been infuriated by repeated US sailings near the islands that it occupies and controls in the South China Sea.
It's control. It's the naval version of keeping your hands where everyone can see them, while moving the room around the table. You can feel it in the cadence of bridge calls that never leak onto open channels. So what makes it the wrong carrier? Not the name painted on the stern. It's the state of the machine. Ready jets cold but loaded to turn. A flight deck clear by plan, not by panic. Escort set for anti-air guard, anti-sub barrier, and small boat counter-swarm, not parade spacing. The tempo is tight. Watch teams pre-briefed for a no-bite profile. When you misread that tempo, you close too fast, stack your own vessels on bad bearings, and give the other side the math. The risk blooms from your side, not theirs. Non-kinetic deterrence carries teeth when it mixes sensors and posture.
Now, according to the US Navy, the Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group and also the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group,
which is not conducive to regional stability and peace, China will continue to take necessary measures to firmly safeguard its national sovereignty and security.
You don't need missiles to draw a boundary if your radars set range gates, your emissions control trims your signature, and your formation shapes the battle space. US Navy doctrine on escalation control speaks to measured signals, turning systems on in modes that say, "We see you," not, "We're about to shoot." The effect is a box drawn in the water. The other ship feels it without hearing it. First US response after ignored warnings is simple and deep. The group expands its picture, wide area tracks, air and sea.
Conducted exercises aimed at increasing interoperability as well as command and control capabilities last month.
The US has frequently sent warships and aircraft to the South China Sea as a show of force.
The bridges hold to strict voice discipline, only the required calls, no color in the language, no extra verbs that can be clipped and replayed. And the do not bite posture holds. You don't feed the cycle. You don't give a clip, a near collision, or a snap turn that becomes the story. The deck stays quiet because the deck is a lever, not a reflex. Now the iron moves. 3 escorts shift bearings, 1 takes the high arc for air defense umbrella, 1 drops to sanitize the underlayer against subsurface threats, 1 knits the close screen against small fast movers. That's the steel wall. It's a denial wedge, a moving triangle that steals approach angles and forces any shadower into bad geometry. To the untrained eye, it's a subtle lane change. To the watch officer on the other side, it's a door swinging shut.
The US military has said that the Chinese military flights over the South China Sea fit a pattern of destabilizing and aggressive behavior.
This engagement comes in less than 10 days of a reported aggressive maneuver by a Chinese fighter jet. However, Beijing has said that it monitored the route of the American destroyer but didn't engage in any close encounter.
But then a rapid Chinese maneuver tries to spring the trap the other way, a quick bow cut, a speed surge, a nose-on posture that dares the carrier to flinch. This is where many blink. A shove like that preys on reflex. Do you punch back to hold space? Or do you reshape space so the shove hits air? The carrier doesn't speak. The group does. A synchronized geometry shift ripples out, a timed set of tiny turns that change closure rates and twist firing arcs away from the US hulls. It looks like almost nothing. It lands like a ruling. Now the angles favor the escorts. Now the closest approach works against the challenger. Dominance, held low, shows up in who owns time to contact. Here's the part most miss. The slow turn that follows is not retreat. It's tempo. It drags the opponent through water they don't control and shortens their options on each beat. That quiet arc breaks the standoff because it makes the next aggressive move tactically foolish and politically costly. You felt the room shift. That's posture writing the rules. And somewhere just outside the frame sits the asset that never shows, yet bends the curve, the thing that lets a slow turn carry weight. You'll see how it stays dark, and still tilts the board. Control isn't volume. It's timing. Formation, sensors, and a calm slow turn beat a hard charge when your posture writes the rules. You saw how silence set the pace, how geometry stole angles, how a quiet deck held power. That's deterrence without a trigger pull. If you want more hard-nosed breakdowns of tactics that stop wars before they start, subscribe and tell me, would you show the hidden asset or keep it dark? Comment your choice below. Next time, we map how a single radar mode change can flip the whole board without a single launch. One switch. New picture. Different decisions. You make the call.